Welcome, beautiful, to the Creating Change podcast with Emma Bradford. Creating change to fall back in love with ourselves and life. Each episode, I'll be offering insightful stories, concepts, and practical takeaways to inspire your day, reconnecting to the authentic essence within. Are you ready, lovely, to embrace yourself even more and awaken to the magic life has to offer? Let's dive into today's episode. Hello and welcome to Creating Change with Emma Bradford, episode number 4. Welcome. So today I'm going to be talking about anxiety and how to create more calm in our lives. This is something that many people have been struggling with, especially the last few years. We've been through a potent wake up in terms of humanity. Like, we've been going through a massive awakening, a massive change. There's been a lot of uncertainty rising up to the surface, a lot of fear. And this is the thing, uncertainty in itself is not the issue. Often it's what we think about it that produces the anxious feelings or produces the fear. So uncertainty actually can bring a lot of excitement. It can bring opportunities. It can bring gifts. Though out of a way of protecting ourselves, many of us have learned to fear it a little bit. Like, we want to protect ourselves, make sure that we're safe. And that's when the anxiety and the panic can arise. So for many years, I was experiencing ongoing anxiety, and it got to the point where it was actually turning into panic. Now, that's when it gets to the point so increased that you're literally panicking and you feel like you're going to die. Like, it feels like a matter of life and death. Now, there are many different symptoms according to different people. Like, some people get heart palpitations, some people feel out of breath, some people feel sweaty, some people get vertigo, some people feel they're going to faint, some people actually do faint. I had a mixture of some of those symptoms, and it's not fun. I remember one time when I was in a restaurant, this was years ago, this was like more than 11 years ago, and I was literally holding on to the table with my hands. I was in a restaurant holding onto the table, and I felt so much vertigo that I felt like I was going to fall off the planet, like literally. I can laugh about it now because it seems ridiculous. Though at the time it felt really real, really real. And I was there crying, and I found it too much and I had to leave the restaurant. Now, there were many things that really helped me to navigate this. So in the first episode, I was talking a little bit about this. Some of the things that really helped me was becoming aware of my thoughts and how that was contributing. So noticing if I was focused on what was going wrong or my fears about whatever was happening or whatever I was feeling, and fast forwarding that in my mind and thinking, oh, I'm going to faint, or oh, I'm going to whatever, fill in the blank. So it was almost like I was creating this scenario in my mind, which was not helping things. So as soon as I started to change the story within my mind, I was able to feel like I had a lot more control in the situation. Like, I could navigate it a lot easier. So I was aware that I was actually the one contributing and creating all these feelings and sensations, and I could actually reverse that and shift the dialogue and the perspective. So that was one of the things, being aware of that, and how our thoughts are directly linked with our emotional state and our physical sensations. So everything is interlinked, mind and body. When I work with students, I actually draw this up in a wheel format. Everything is linked. Like, what we're thinking about then has a knock-on effect on how we feel and then how that shows in our physiology. So if I'm thinking thoughts of, oh, I'm going to faint, emotion that can arise is fear. And then from that, maybe I do actually start feeling those sensations that I will experience that. Now, if I was to change the story and start focusing on a more uplifting narrative, then that will have a direct effect on how I feel and how that shows up in my physiology. So being aware of this was a key component. And then another thing that really helped was actually having acupuncture. Some people resonate with this, some people don't. If you haven't tried it and you're curious to try it, feel free. It's a wonderful practice that can be really beneficial for anxiety. If you feel it's not for you, that's fine too. There are many other things that can help. Some people prefer other modalities like EFT or hypnosis is another really powerful one. At the time, what worked for me was a mixture of NLP, acupuncture, and then also the key thing was cutting out all caffeine. Now, it depends on the individual. Though for me, reducing and cutting out caffeine was a big shift forward, because when I've had a cup of coffee, when I've had a cup of strong tea, and I'm in that adrenaline state with lots of energy, if there are any underlying emotions and if there's any underlying anxiety, it's like the coffee and the tea, for me personally, amplifies that. So each person's different. Though for me personally, it would amplify it and it would just make it even worse. So in order to be in a calmer state, I didn't need that buzz of the caffeine. I needed something else. Come back to the breath, the inhale, the exhale. Breathing in, breathing out. So that is one of the practical takeaways that you can do. I would often place my hands on my belly or just placing a finger on my belly button and breathing in and out and just noticing that sensation of my hands on my belly or my finger in my belly button. Just noticing that sensation as I was breathing. And that was a really wonderful, simple, effective technique to come back to a calmer state. So you can try that when you wish. If you're driving, then obviously not now, though. When you're in a position to try that, do try that. It's something that can be really simple and effective in coming back to the present, coming back to one point of focus. Because often when there's anxiety, when there's a sense of overwhelm, we're focusing on too many things at once and we're focusing on lots of stressful stories and negative stories. So when we're reducing the amount of things that we're focused on, we're able to create a sense of calm. We can have a sense of external overwhelm and internal overwhelm. External overwhelm is when we're in a situation when there's so much going on, so much information for our senses. We're in a really busy, crowded place, for example, and there's so many things happening and we're focused on everything all at once. That can create a sense of external overwhelm and that can provoke anxious feelings. And we can have a state of internal overwhelm where we're focused on all the different thoughts and feelings that are going on within us. So I was experiencing a mixture of both at the time of all these panic attacks, and both things at once, then that was just like a whole nother level. Though if you are noticing there's like one more than the other, then you can start rewriting the story and changing that. So if there's a lot of external overwhelm, then bring your focus back to one thing. As I said, the breath. Or focusing on one thing in your surroundings. If you're able to get to nature, then do that. That is another wonderful thing to do. Into nature, a few deep breaths. Bring your attention to one point, one thing. And that's a really quick way to calm the system. If there's a lot of internal overwhelm, then this is where some form of therapy or therapeutic process, either you do that with a professional or you do that yourself. So finding some way to start moving through all the motions within. So one way to do that, for example, is to write things down. Have a journal. Express how you feel. Write things down. And that's one way to start letting go of that internal overwhelm. If you're worried about all these different things you have to do, all these things are stressing you out, you're feeling anxious about certain situations or experiences, write it down, get it on paper, out of your head, onto the paper, and create more internal space. So there's so many other things that can help. I mean, I can literally just give a whole list. And I'll probably do another podcast episode on this to go into this in more depth. Though just to start off with, bring your attention back to one point only. Breathe deeply and notice what shifts. Notice what shifts as you do that. If that's placing your hand over your heart and whispering to yourself, I'm here, as you breathe in and out. If that's placing your hand on your belly and just noticing that sensation. Just making sure that the breath comes all the way down into the body. Because often when we're feeling anxious, we breathe only in the upper part of the chest. And that just creates even more anxious feelings because we're not breathing properly. We're not getting the full amount of oxygen that we can. So coming all the way back down into the body. Another thing I found super useful is simply just moving the body, dancing, doing exercise, getting on my bike, cycling, moving the body, going for a walk, especially in nature. When we're moving the body, we're starting to bring the attention and the focus into the body and not up in the head. When we're only focused on everything that's up in the head, we can get caught up in those anxious stories. So back down into the body, into the physical body, moving your body in whatever way feels good for you. I love to dance, though some people might love to run, might love to walk, might love to do some kind of physical sport, another type of sport. Find something where you can move your body, because not only does this boost ourselves emotionally, energetically, it helps us to create more balance and actually be more embodied. And a lot of anxious feelings come from when we're not embodied, when we're up in the head and caught up in those stories. So back down into the body. Inhale, exhale. How wonderful it is to have a body that you can move, that you can, in whatever way that you can do, whatever works with you. Even if you have certain symptoms or certain things going on, and you can simply just move a foot or a hand or a leg or your arms, bringing your awareness back down into the body is so powerful. Back to simplicity, as I often talk about. So I'll leave you with that. There's obviously so much more that I can talk about, but that will come for future episodes. So if you have a loved one that's struggling with anxiety, then do share this episode. I'll be so grateful, and this can be such a loving support for them too. And also, please do leave a review on iTunes. That really helps. And sending you so much love. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, beautiful. You're amazing. All resources and links can be found on my website, www.emmabradford.net. Link is in the show description. Do come and join my community and share your takeaways from this episode. I'd really love to hear. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Until next time, I wonder, what magic will you experience in life today?